The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
The absolute worst!
I got a question for you guys because today is April 1st. And
I hate it.
Okay,
I hate this
then
day so
answer
much.
my question right away. Me too. It's getting so old. I was on Twitter, and Tom Brady retired. Sure. Our very own mothership posted an article that said the Senators aren't going to have a logo this year. It's just going to be those stripes, which I thought was kind of funny, but still.
Yeah.
And it's just been one thing after another, and I'm like, I am so over these April Fool's things. Just enough already. And
Try being a teacher.
Try being a journalist.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's stupid. Like, half of them are either so transparent and bad that it's like, why did you even bother with this?
Yeah.
And the other ones that are almost true, it's like, oh, is it? Wait a second, what day is it? And it's just a waste of everybody's time, I find. I'm not against a bad prank or a bad joke, but like,
yeah, but it's just too much now. Yeah, I got suckered in the year that it was the from Back to the Future when the Miami team was supposedly won the World Series or whatever. And they did that. The Marlins did that post. They were going to wear the uniforms or whatever. And I fell for that because I thought, well, that makes sense. A team would probably do that. And that's like the last one I fell for. After that, I'm like, everything I read now on April 1st, I don't believe it. So there could be stuff that's true out there. And I'm just like, sorry, I don't buy it. It drives me nuts. But
yeah, no, and that's the thing is like some of these stories that are true, that are actual like news stories, but you read it and like, I don't know about that. That seems a little off. And then you do click on it, and you're like, oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
this is a thing.
It's just I'll be glad when it's done. It's just like it's enough already. It's just tired. It's not funny anymore.
If I had my way, I'd like call in sick every single April 1st and then just like stay in bed until midnight. I hate everything about this day. Like it has just grown tiresome and I loathe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't listen to radio anymore. It used to be radio stations would like act like they'd switched formats and all this dumb stuff and people would fall for it and okay. But you would think after a while that it would just be the first thing you would do is look at the calendar and go, "Oh, that's right." I don't know. I'm just glad I'm not the only one that's really tired of the whole ordeal because it's just gotten really stupid.
No, I'm not a big fan, especially like today. So tickets for Avengers go on sale tomorrow morning, and my girlfriend and I we organized the whole thing for our group. We have 15 people that want to go on opening night, and so I spent part of the day trying to research Avengers stuff, like what time is it coming out, who's where do I get them, all that sort of stuff, and half the crap I had to wade through was like Avengers April Fool's jokes.
Oh.
And I'm just like, this is so terrible. This is like I'm actually trying to get something done here, guys, and you're like just doing nothing but impeding my information gathering.
Well, speaking of that, how is your rewatch of everything in the MCU going anyway?
Good. We got one more movie left in Phase 2, Ant-Man. We didn't get to that on Saturday, but it's actually going easier than we thought. Like we were like, oh my god, so many movies, but you knock out 3 or 4 every weekend, and it's not bad.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the new Avengers movie because the last one was incredible. I just loved it.
Yeah. The only thing going through the rewatch is like you start off with Iron Man and you're just like, this is a perfect damn movie. You forget how good that first Iron Man is.
Iron Man is fantastic.
And like I'm kind of keeping a running tally of how my rankings are through the movies that we've seen. And really, the only one that's challenged it is Avengers. Like, Iron Man's still on top of my ranking through the first 11 movies.
I say this as an Iron Man fan. Been reading Iron Man comics since I was a kid. I love the Iron Man movie, but I can't watch it now. Like I'm like physically incapable of watching it now because the payoff that they set up, the 10 rings, gets butchered in Iron Man 3.
Right. So
I'm
that's what I was going to say. Is like you start off with this high of Iron Man 1, Incredible Hulk, whatever. Well, we started off by trying to play a drinking game through Iron Man, and the drinking game was you take a drink anytime somebody says Stark.
Oh my!
Stark Industries appears on screen, or there's a gunfire or an explosion. And
weren't you drunk after the first 10 minutes?
Yeah, no, literally. Like, I was doing this with hard alcohol, like a mixed drink.
Oh, no.
I wasn't taking shots. It was just like I had a whiskey Coke. 24 minutes into the movie, I was just all of a sudden like, oh no, we have done a bad thing. And so we immediately watched Incredible Hulk after that, and I actually like the Incredible Hulk. I like Edward Norton, but I don't remember watching the movie at all, which is probably more emblematic of the movie.
Oh yeah, I was going to say I watched it sober and don't remember watching it. I couldn't tell you two things about it right now, except that Edward Norton was in it. Was that the William Hurt movie too? Was he in that one?
Yeah. William Hurt comes back. Like,
He's the only one that survives of that whole movie.
It amazes me that they stuck to their guns and still consider that movie canon after everyone else left. Like, everyone else was like, nah, we're not doing this Marvel thing anymore. And they're like, no, William Hurt, come on back. You get to be General Ross again. He's like, all right.
Yeah, paycheck's a
but
paycheck.
Like, you start off with the Incredible Iron Man movie, then mediocre Hulk, Thor's fine, Avengers is good, but mixed into all that is Iron Man 2, not great.
No.
And then the start of Phase 2, immediately after Avengers. Like, you built for like 3 years to get to this movie, and you're like, it was a cinematic event that we hadn't seen before. And immediately coming out of Avengers, we go into Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World.
Iron Man 3 was the bad Mandarin one, right?
Yeah. Iron Man 3 is where they took Tony's greatest enemy and made it a punchline.
Yeah. Reasons. Took the Mandarin a punchline. He's hardly in the suit. They have all these jokes that just do not land. Mm-hmm. It's set at Christmas for no good reason.
Well, it's Shane Black, so.
Well, right. It's Shane Black, so it's at Christmas. There's this weird kid character. Tony ends up blowing up all the suits, which doesn't matter. Like,
I forgot about the kid character where he ran into him in the neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah, which translates to Tennessee.
Right. Yep.
Which is hilarious because there's a kid, and like they blow up like if you just go by if you just watch the Iron Man movies and don't watch any other Marvel movie, like. Iron Man 3 is like, oh, the end of the story is he gave up being Iron Man. But then he's right back to being Iron Man again in all the other movies.
Well, yeah, and it has this one of the single dumbest moments in all these movies when he announces his address to a group of terrorists and then doesn't like bulk up his security or activate all those Iron Man suits or anything.
Or how that by using the Mandarin as sort of like a red herring, it turns out that the real villain of the movie has no real motive besides Tony was rude to me at a party 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then you go from that where you're like, oh man, they got to bounce back from this because this could be a real franchise killer. Then they go to Thor: The Dark World, which is just anytime anybody is speaking, I don't know. I can't tell you a single word that was said in that movie because it's all like, oh, upon high, the dark elves created the ether, which then was put together by my father Bor, son of Gore,
right? By
the mystical ages. And just, oh my god, this is so.
I tried to watch it. I couldn't get through 15 minutes of it. I just turned it off. I'm like, fuck this.
Marvel, you are not J.R.R. Tolkien. Stop it.
Yeah,
it's just all like. Trust me, I love a good fantasy story, but this was. Not up there with some of the most confusing fantasy babble bullshit that you've heard out of any of these movies ever.
Also, Thor: The Dark World kind of pissed me off because the villain is Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
And he's my favorite Doctor Who actor. And so when I heard he was going to be the villain in a Thor movie, I was like, sweet, like that'll be awesome. And then he barely does anything in the entire movie.
Is he? He's not the same one that played the Queen's husband in The Crown, is he?
No, that's Matt Smith.
Matt Smith, right? Okay.
He's 2 doctors later.
Okay.
But no, Eccleston. And again, it's like not his fault. Like I don't feel like Eccleston blew anything. They just didn't give him anything to do with.
What else has he been in? Because I know that name and I'm trying to place a face with it. I can't think of him.
He's been in a lot of British and indie stuff. I think Doctor Who's his most mainstream thing. The other thing that he did that maybe you might have seen, he was Destro in the G.I. Joe movie.
No, he was in something because I remember thinking I like him. I can't remember.
I'm pulling up his.
Yeah, hold on a minute.
His
there we go.
Wikipedia.
Well, he's also.
But like, Mike, do you even remember the name of his character in Dark World?
It's Malik or something.
Malekith.
That was.
And it's just, God, I hated everything about it.
Is that the one where Thor's in like a Snuggie for half the movie?
Yeah, he's just wearing a shawl. Well, and the thing was, like, I realized I had never actually seen that movie because, when it came out, I wasn't really, like, totally pumped to see it. And then I heard it was bad, so it was just kind of like, all right, well, that's I'm not going to – and I even asked people, does it have any big ties that I need to be aware of to the rest of the movies? And it's like, oh, not really. And, like, in retrospect, yeah, the reality stone is sort of made in that movie, but they don't tell you outright what the hell it is so you don't even know that it is until later.
Why can't I not find anything this guy was in?
Do you
have his IMDb pulled up, Zach? This is driving me nuts now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his stuff, and it's nothing that stands out to me. Like movie wise, Legend, Thor: The Dark World, Song from Harriet, G.I. Joe, 28 Days Later. The Others, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh God, I haven't thought about that movie in 19 years until you just said it.
When it comes to TV,
maybe that's where I'm getting him from.
The Leftovers,
Heroes.
That's where The Leftovers. That's where I knew him from. Okay, all right, that's it. Okay. Did you guys ever watch that show?
No.
Very interesting.
I mean, I watched a little bit of the first season with my family, and the first season was so just depressing as hell. It's like,
it's not something you watch to walk away and go, hey, that was fun afterwards, but really interesting premise. But it was what's his name? Damon Lindelof, the guy from Lost. Yeah. I think this guy comes up with incredible ideas, but he has no idea how to execute them. Because another great premise. It was based on a book, I guess, but he really nailed the whole, here's what's happening, but he never seems to be able to figure out how to make it pay off in any substantial way. So, anyway.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Once I was watching through it, it's a good thing that Marvel already had a plan in place, because if they were going movie by movie trying to string this along, the back-to-back combo of Iron Man 3 and Thor 2 would kill any other franchise. They survived.
The best thing that they ever did to the Thor franchise was Ragnarok, and just ditching the we want to be J.R.R. Tolkien shit and just be like, hey, Thor's a magical space Viking. Let's just have fun with that concept.
Yeah. Well, and again, to Marvel's credit, you go from the 2 worst movies that they put out immediately into Winter Soldier, which is one of the best they've put out.
The only problem I have with Winter Soldier is that they revealed it was Bucky in the trailer, which made no sense, because it's like, if you're a comic fan, you know it. You know that already. Yeah. And if you're not a comic fan, and for non-comic fans, you just spoiled the big twist.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I wasn't a big Captain America reader, and I knew it was Bucky before. I mean, I didn't know who Bucky was, but I knew that Bucky was the Winter Soldier without it being spoiled. So I don't know if they went I mean, I'm sure some people were, but I think it was kind of common knowledge, as much as something like that can be, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have not watched all of that. What did you guys think of the first Captain America movie?
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. I enjoy it.
It really sucks that Hugo Weaving doesn't want to come back, because I thought he was pretty good as the Red Skull.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's between that and his turn as Megatron. He's I think he would be done with IP properties.
Yeah, that's so weird. It's like Hugo Weaving it's like, oh yeah, just like on his filmography, he's just got like these little like one shots. Like, oh, he was V in V for Vendetta. He was Megatron. He was Agent Smith. He was the Red Skull. He's got a varied career.
Elrond.
Elrond's his best role, man. He does the whole like self-important elf thing really well.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm really looking forward to the new Avengers movie. I think it's going to be I hope it's as good as the last one. If it's even 75% as good, I'll be happy.
I mean,
I don't know if it can be, just because like it'll be great. Yeah, I think the best it can do is maybe like 75%. Maybe it exceeds my expectations, but it's one of those things where like it has the Empire Strikes Back property going for it, where it's not the end of the story, so you can take some risks and put your characters in these horrible positions. Like where you end up at the end of Infinity War, where you end up at the end of Empire Strikes Back, everybody's on their knees. You've just been hit. You lost a hand. You found out
the bad guys win, and it's
the bad guys win in both cases. It's you can take some risks and do some great storytelling. Whereas like once you get to the finale, it's like, okay, well, how do they win?
Yeah, and they have to win.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because you assume that the characters that died have to come back to life somehow, and if they do, how do they do it? What's the deal?
I mean, come on, like they fucking Spider-Man Homecoming. Like I know they could do the whole thing. It's like, oh, it might be before Endgame, or it's like, nah, man, you just basically, and again, that's not a spoiler. Like, of course, everyone was coming back. They weren't going to keep all these people dead. They weren't going to keep fucking Black Panther dead after his movie made like $800 million. Like
that was another great movie, actually. That I would put that up there with Iron Man and the better ones. I think definitely.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where all these, like, that's why it's almost hard to do the full rankings looking backwards, and that's why I'm trying to do it while I'm watching them, because then I can have the immediate, I saw this, where does it slot in versus the other ones that I also just saw.
But I could see, like, I don't know, like, anyone knew that the whole Thanos wins was going to get reversed.
Sure.
I don't know, like, I
but it's fun to have the illusion that your heroes will lose, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that Infinity War does.
Apparently there were rumors that they weren't going to have that as the ending, and that would have been a huge mistake.
Yeah,
well, it's a good thing that they ended it like that.
One way to go about wrapping up the storyline is that our heroes win, but maybe with a price, so that it's not so like Rocky Balboa. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if anyone's read the comics, that this whole thing is basically Infinity War comics. Like, there's well, it's interesting because the guy who ends up paying the price in the comics, they haven't actually made in the movies. It's Adam Warlock.
Right.
And, like, Adam Warlock is, like, the big damn hero of the Infinity War comic books, and he doesn't exist in the MCU, so...
No, that's a problem.
Technically speaking, he does.
Oh, yeah.
He was in the post-credit scene of Guardians 2, right?
Was he?
Oh, speaking of, there's another one, Guardians of the Galaxy. I liked both of those.
Oh, right. But still, like, I don't know.
But honestly...
That would be hilarious if they paid that off and he just shows up in the last 10 minutes.
Well, it wouldn't be... The things that I've read, like, I haven't read the comic myself, but I've watched some videos of people kind of walking you through it and explaining what the hell happens. Mm. The Infinity War comics are just batshit insane.
No, they really are. They well, like in the Infinity War,
completely off the wall.
Like,
makes no sense.
In the Infinity War comics, Thanos doesn't want to do it because Thanos isn't this misguided noble guy who's trying to save the universe. He's legitimately, he wants to bang the personification of death, and he thinks killing half the people in the universe will make death fall in love with him.
Right.
That is the premise of Infinity.
Wow.
Right. And then when he does do it, Death's like, not impressed. So then he tries to become there. Like in I guess in the cosmic MCU, there's a being called Eternity.
Yeah.
Literally. Eternity, all of existence is being, and Thanos tries to become Eternity, and just like
look, man, look. When comics exhaust all of the obvious stories, they get weird. All right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'd rather do something weird than see Batman's parents die again.
I don't know what to make of this year's GTOV. I was talking to Zach before we started. There doesn't seem to be a clear-cut favorite this year. After 2 rounds, you're looking at it going, I still don't know. It could be any. Well, I think there's a few that are not going to make it, but there are quite a few that could make a run.
I think that's because of the format. Like if we kept it, because when we seed these things for ourselves, we even kind of, we think that the people can do what they want with it. But I know that we all kind of see our own vision of, well, this guy's probably going to be my favorite coming out of my bracket and how it works through. Now that everything's kind of jumbled up and what you think was high, maybe low for somebody else or whatever, it kind of gives it a different life than it would have otherwise.
Oh, I really liked the new format. It was great because we got matchups that we never would have gotten otherwise. Everybody stayed alive. Andy took a pretty bad beating out of all of us. He ended up with 2 left. I think I only have 3 left. Mike, I think, still has like 5 entries still standing.
Yeah, I have 4, so Mike probably has the most then.
Yeah.
3-peat. Here we go.
Well, see, that's the thing is like, what happens if the final 4 is all Mike?
Well, then I'm raising the banner UCF style, and
see, that's the thing too. Like it was, like the first round, it was easy to do the randomized thing, but it didn't occur to me that we're going to end up still getting matchups of our own entries playing each other because there's really no way to avoid it. I mean, I suppose you could have, but it would have taken like 3 scientists and a bunch of eraser boards and stuff, and I didn't want to get into all that.
We're arts and humanities majors. Let's be honest, right? Like, come on, we need to stay in our lane.
But there was some huge blowouts. I mean, Florida man just took it to your Naked Planet Fitness patron, Mike. 29-2 was the final.
I mean, Florida man is eternal. He never dies. There's always Florida man always lives.
Gritty was another. Gritty and Florida man both won 29-2.
Jesus.
Yeah. I think when it comes to early favorites, I got to think that those are right at the top, just because they're such forces of nature in their own respective ways.
I thought Brady Christ he won big, 25-6, but I thought he'd be in a 29-2 category too, but we'll short of that.
I mean, Brady Christ, it kind of starts off a bit slow, but it's the final minutes where the real magic happens.
And
that's some Brady Christ backlash too.
First time ever, the Chimp Conference out of the tournament completely already after the first round. That's it. No chimps.
Well, they were in a tight one, though.
Yeah, no pun intended. I tell you one that I like as a dark horse is the USC rowing team, rowing not required.
Yeah, it was an interesting matchup in that first round. I didn't know what to make of a fake rowing team going up against limitless Oreos. But now that they've gone through, I think the sky's the limit because you can kind of they're a malleable contestant, right? You can kind of put them in whatever situation you want. However much you want to pay.
I was completely shocked by that. I thought the Oreos would have won out easily because if you think about it, the rowing team's fake. They don't actually have to row, so they don't have to worry about their health. They could have just let themselves gorge on the Oreos.
Oh, that makes good sense to me.
But apparently they managed to pull it out. I guess after the scandal broke, they really want to prove themselves that they belong.
Or their parents could buy them enough Oreos and milk as it is. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Or
probably would have been a better use of their money, honestly.
My dark horse favorite is Canuck the knife wielding crow. I think that thing's going to go on a run. I think.
I'm happy. I finally got a chance to use Canuck the knife wielding crow. He's been in. I've been waiting for the chance to break him out for a few years now. So.
Well, he's. Well, I guess he's not. Oh, he's not going up against the Wolf next, right?
Let me see.
That would have to be right. Okay, I thought we were going to have a all Canada matchup.
Canuck is up. See, this is the thing where Mike's number 2 seed is playing his number 3. The Canuck is up against the Giant Wolf of Thompson, Manitoba.
Oh, it is an all Canada matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're only going to be playing the Canadian national anthem for that matchup.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And they'll have to meet at a neutral site, like
halfway.
Prince Alberta.
The Prince Albert Recreational Center. That'll be.
Oh, I think another one too that I think is gonna, and I'm almost kind of wishing I hadn't put it in now because I forgot how much boards influence this thing would have. Is Tank's Meltdown.
Oh,
but you know, the room full of cute puppies held its own. Only lost by 7. So Tank wasn't the powerhouse I thought he would be. Sirloin had a fine showing in the first round.
I mean, Sirloin's got to be another strong contender. You really can't underestimate Sirloin.
Fire Festival Cheese Sandwich, I think, is a strong contender.
Yeah, the only 8 seed to move on out of the first round.
Yep.
Getting the upset over Death.
Yeah, that was a big win.
Give me Fire Festival Cheese Sandwich or give me Death.
I think people I think people are more disappointed in the cheese sandwich than Death. So
the Fire Festival Cheese Sandwich is probably a sentence worse than Death.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
especially if you go in expecting good food.
We ended up with some good matchups though coming into the second round. We got Jesus Brady against the USC rowing team, rowing not required.
Yeah.
Late 80s Ric Flair versus Nudist Colony Lifeguard. Florida Man. I think this is just perfect. Florida Man taking on Johnny Manziel trapped in Utah. I'd like Johnny's chances better if he weren't trapped in Utah, like if he were in Texas or somewhere.
See, that's the thing, though. That's what gives him strength, because he's so desperate to find anything to do in Utah that he's driven to madness. It's like Johnny Manziel is controllable if you give him his booze and parties. Now he's got milk and Bible study. What's he going to do? He's unpredictable. He's crazy. He's unhinged.
The Florida Man is the embodiment of madness.
That's true.
You know, when I did pictures for the second round on the thread on the boards, and the amount of Florida Man headlines that I like, Florida Man this, Florida Man that, I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. I chose Florida Man eaten by alligator while hiding from deputies because I thought that was pretty funny. But there were so many. Florida Man does this, Florida Man does that. I was like, my goodness.
He's prolific.
Gritty taking on the angry Tory backbencher during a Brexit vote. I'm liking Gritty in that one.
One of our British listeners, Marble, congratulated me on that one. He really felt the pain of that one.
And we've got the most comfortable couch in existence going up against a dedicated Reddit poster having just come Wikipedia.
Oh, by the way, I think, Zach, what you're getting at is that the angry Tory backbencher struck again. Parliament still can't figure out what it wants to do with Brexit. So
right, it's gaining steam. Outside of the in the practice rounds outside of the tournament, gaining steam. For this competition.
Angry Tory backbencher, the people like to underestimate the British, but I think he's going to have some things to say about how all this shakes out.
I'm looking at the Sweet 16, and I'm only seeing like maybe 3 entries here that I just can't see taking it all the way. Like, I don't think the couch can do it. I don't really see Johnny Manziel, but the rest of these, I think could really make a run at it. All of them.
Yeah, I think depending on the matchup, like as much as I love the fart hockey book, going up against Sirloin is a tough matchup.
Oh, is that the matchup? Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be tough because Sirloin is, he's the number 2 seed, so of course. Tank's Meltdown versus the Fire Festival Cheese Sandwich. How perfect is that?
It's the worst.
Absolutely. Unbelievable. But yeah, pretty good GTOV so far.
Is Tank's anger at the New Jersey Metro system greater than his anger would have been had he attended the Fire Festival?
Oh my God! Could you imagine that though? Could
you imagine Tank at Fire Festival?
Oh jeez,
fighting over piss-soaked tents and
cheese sandwiches.
Tank at Fire Festival. That's almost an entry by itself. It's just it never happened, unfortunately. I finally had to quit following him on Twitter. He's back on the whole diet thing, fighting with people about he won't give up drinking pop and he won't do that. It's like, you know what?
He doesn't have to give up drinking pop. Drink diet pop.
Well, that's what he tells
drink
people.
Less.
Yeah, but it's just, I was like, I lived all this 10 years ago. I don't need to see it again. So I didn't. But yeah, so that good GTOV so far. I think we get some good matchups. We're going to get a good champion. A lot of strong contenders here in the second round. But yeah, so any final thoughts on the GTOV? If not, we will move on and talk some sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, just loving the tournament.
Except no substitute.
The NHL season ends this weekend.
Yeah, my Jackets are barely hanging on, but they're in a wild card spot, 1 point ahead of, or 2 points ahead of Montreal. 1 point ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes. I just want to say real quick that I used to think that Overreaction Monday in football was my favorite day of the year. No, Overreaction Day in baseball after one game is my favorite.
It's even more absurd because there's like 161 more
games to go. And you have figured out what's wrong with your team after one game. You have like 1,500 innings of baseball to play yet.
Like here's the thing. I love baseball. I'm a huge Jays fan. They are my favorite sports team of all time. I don't even start to legitimately care until the All-Star break's over with.
That's what I mean. You get these people like, man, I knew that, such and such the Red Sox are, and it's like, are you kidding me? After one day.
Well, I can tell you the Angels pitching still sucks. So
yeah, well,
I don't need 160 games to determine that.
Yeah, but you didn't go into it thinking they were going to be good, and then they suck, and you're like, oh my god, I mean,
maybe.
But anyway,
but yeah,
let's talk a little hockey here because it's getting close. We got 3 games left.
Yeah, we got 3 games left for most teams. Some teams have 4. It's coming down to the wire for a lot of these.
That's great, Mike.
In the East so far, Tampa, Boston, Washington, and the Islanders have all clinched, and Pittsburgh and Toronto will do it here in a day or two. So you got Columbus in the first wild card at 94 points, Carolina in the second wild card at 93 points, and then Montreal is the only other team with a shot at 92 points. Each of those teams have 3 games to play. Montreal has a hell of a schedule, though. Let me see if I can pull theirs up. I think the problem for the Habs is that they lost games to Carolina and Columbus over the last week.
So tiebreakers are going to be a bitch.
Yeah.
Right. And so now their next 3 games are they host the Lightning.
Ooh.
They're at the Caps, and then they host the Leafs in the final game of the season.
Damn.
Now, for all of those 3 teams, the 3 teams they're playing, these games don't matter at all to them.
Well, you got the Lightning going for 60 wins, which may mean something to them, may not. They do have a little bit to play for.
Right. The Washington's already clinched. In theory, the Islanders could take them over for the division title, but I don't think that that's going to happen either. And then Toronto has known they were going to be playing Boston for the past, since opening day. So it's. I don't think the Leafs have too much to play for, other than. Do you think it means anything to the Leafs to try and keep the Habs out of the playoffs?
Yeah, I think a little bit.
Yeah, I mean. I mean, that would be if it became like a win and you're in deal for Montreal. Like if it came down to that, I could see them playing to keep him out.
Yeah, I think so because you see it in football. Like I know, like if the Browns could knock the Steelers out of the playoffs, they'd go for it.
I mean, they did that. I mean, they did last year by losing to the Ravens in the final game.
Yeah, or like say if the Raiders can keep the Chiefs out. I mean, so it happens. So I can see the Maple Leafs saying, yeah, you know what, screw these guys. I can see it happening.
And then for Columbus and Carolina, though, not only are they trying to hold on to that spot, they're both because since everybody's separated by 1 point from each other, they're both trying to jockey to make sure that they don't finish in the Tampa Bay death zone.
Yeah.
of 8th place. Because right now Columbus would play Washington. That's fine. If somehow Carolina, I think Columbus would have the tiebreaker, so they're okay right now. But if Carolina finishes over them, then you have to play Tampa in the first round, and that's the firing squad.
Yep.
So tight things there. In the West, Calgary is your number one seed in the Western Conference. Not something I could have thought.
I mean,
Calgary, 105 points. Look at that.
Just to kind of go back to the East for a moment, like even if Montreal doesn't make it, I do want to say they did kind of surpass my expectations for them this year. Because the fact that they're even in the discussion going into the final 3 games of the season, I thought they were going to be hot garbage.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got 92 points. That's a good season, in or out. Still pretty good year.
So like just I guess my final thoughts on the East, because a lot of the East kind of fell how everyone thought it would.
Yeah.
My main thing in the East is good job Montreal, you exceeded expectations, and Islanders.
Yeah.
Not Islanders. I expected the Islanders to do well, so sorry, but didn't mean to say the Islanders. But the Panthers. What the fuck happened? People thought you were going to do things. Like,
weren't they were a lot of people were high on them coming into the season, right?
We were high on them. I remember we were saying like, hey, if they don't pull it off, something went wrong. Something went.
Well, on the other, but they're the flip side of the Carolina coin, right? Where it was all this for years. Everyone's like, oh, Carolina, they're the team that's going to do it this year, and they never did. And now, with all their celebrations propelling them, they got there. The thing with Carolina that we should mention too, they did announce that they are not doing the celebrations in the playoffs. So
probably a good idea.
So Don Cherry can rest easy.
Well, not only that, but you piss the team off. You got to play them again tomorrow night. Probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
No reason to give anybody any reason to play harder than they're already going to play against you.
And again, I didn't have a problem with it. I just didn't like when they started getting like the game operations people involved with the light shows and video graphics.
Like when they started leaning into the whole like we're a bunch of jerks kind of thing. It's like it's been 2 weeks since Don Cherry said that. You can It was kind of that Bart Simpson thing where, Bart gets really famous for saying that one thing and he's got nothing else.
Look at the West though, guys. I hate to break it to you, but the Vegas Golden Knights of Nevada.
Yeah, they're locked into playing the Sharks. That's a first round matchup too. And the Sharks have been reeling. They have been playing like garbage for weeks. I think they've lost 5 in a row. They're 2-7-1 in their last 10.
Wow.
Whereas Vegas has actually been. I mean, their last 10's kind of middle of the road, but they've been on a good trend here over the last month or so. So San Jose, Vegas isn't the team San Jose wanted to see in the first round.
God. You know what? Doesn't matter. The Knights have fucked their future up, and I will gladly await for their inevitable collapse and seeing the fans have to deal with the fact that they're not special.
My St. Louis Blues are locked in. They're in, baby.
They were in dead last in January. Dead last in the whole damn conference.
Here they come.
And now they're 2 point. The Central goes Winnipeg at 94, Nashville 94, St. Louis 92. St. Louis has 4 games left. Nashville, Winnipeg each have. Or Nashville has 3. Winnipeg has 4. St. Louis can somehow still play for the division title after the season they've had.
All that just to go out and probably the second round. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. We're gonna have that conversation again. We're gonna have to.
I think next week. Yeah. Right.
We're gonna have to talk Greg out of picking the Blues. To
the West. You can't do it. You can't
Greg,
do it.
Hey, just look at the Capitals. The year that they finally nobody believed in them, that's when they go win the Stanley Cup. Nobody believed in the Blues. Nobody believed in the Blues.
No one's ever believed in the Blues.
Do the Blues have Alex Ovechkin though?
They have their leading scorer is a Russian. At the bottom of the standings, the Arizona freaking Coyotes are a point out of the playoffs.
I know.
Now they're in a tough spot because Colorado has a game in hand, and I think the Coyotes' final few games aren't terribly difficult, but Dallas looks like they're safely in. They're at 89 points with three to play. So it's either Colorado or Arizona. Arizona has 3 left at 84. Colorado has 4 left at 85.
Well,
the Yotes finish up hosting the Kings. Then they're at the Golden Knights, and they host Winnipeg. So
I just want to point out, too, that that the not scoring as many goals as the other team finally caught up with the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
Look, it's that pesky score stat that always fucks over the really good teams.
And they couldn't get around it this year.
Well, joke you all you want. This is the first season where Bruce Boudreau has coached a full season behind the bench that his team will miss the playoffs.
You know,
the only other time he missed the playoffs was with the Ducks when he came in halfway through the season when they fired Carlisle the first time.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm actually happy the Wild aren't in the playoffs because I am tired of them always getting into the playoffs and being in the most boring, mediocre series. Like, it always happens. They don't even play good hockey. It's always, oh, they lost to the Blackhawks in 5 again. Okay. And it's just always boring. So,
well, look, I think we're going to get that. It's no matter what, you're going to have one of those series here in the West. Mm-hmm. If it's Calgary, Colorado, or Arizona, Calgary,
those are not going to be fun, exciting series.
Winnipeg, Dallas, Nashville, Dallas.
I mean, Dallas. Ben Bishop's out now, so Dallas is going into the playoffs without their goallie.
Yeah.
They only have a +6 goal differential against +61 Calgary. Like, that could get really, really ugly for them.
Yeah. By the way, if Arizona were to make it, they'd be the only team to make the playoffs this season with a negative goal differential. They're -9 right now.
Is this like the year that the Panthers made it to the playoffs on loser points and then ended up losing like 3 of the 4 games in the playoffs in overtime?
Well, no, because that would be if Colorado made it, because Colorado has 13 overtime losses. Arizona only has 8. I think, Colorado is tied for the most overtime losses in the league with the Rangers.
I'm just saying that was the best thing. Florida made it into the playoffs on overtime losses, and then they lost like 3 overtime. They lost like 3 out of 5 games in overtime.
Live by the overtime points, die by the overtime points.
I'm still waiting for the team to go 0-82 and make it in with 82 points. Like.
Well, hey, they wouldn't be out that far outside of the West right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say they'd be right there along with Arizona, right?
The West is weird. There's a lot of garbage in the West.
Well,
Carolina
here. Okay, well, actually no, because they'd be 0-79, 0-79, so they'd be 2 points behind. They'd be where Chicago is. They'd be 2 points behind Minnesota right now, a team that does the 0-82 thing.
Yeah,
as it stands right now.
Well, like Montreal is. Is outside the playoffs right now. They would be tied with St. Louis for 3rd in the Central right now. They have more points than Vegas does, and Vegas has already clinched the playoff spot.
Yeah.
Whereas, Arizona 84 points, they'd be
if there was
eliminated in the East already.
Ever a year, I wish my Blue Jackets were back in the West. This would be it.
I mean, they have to be in the East for reasons.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, because Detroit pitches a hissy fit.
But anyway, so we will next week. It all gets underway. Probably next Wednesday, Thursday.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah. So our next show will be our
playoff hockey. The most stressful time of the year.
Yeah, it's great as long as your team's not involved.
It's great when your team's not involved.
Well, I didn't mean it like that. I mean like
Hey, for a long time, I was the odd man out every playoff year of the Leafs, like, sucking, and now it's time. It's your turn, Zach.
Mike, you're really. I mean,
the Ducks are actually playing well down the stretch here. They were winning some games, and then in the last 3 games, half the fucking team got injured. So it's just like, all right, I guess we're just gonna finish the season on a whimper.
Mike, guys. You are really the only legitimate hope we have for a cup this year. Because we know the Jackets aren't going to do it. And Zach's not even going to get there.
We got to be. I mean, it's the Boston-Tampa gauntlet.
Toronto has the toughest road.
Let me put it to you this way: if they can get through the Boston-Tampa gauntlet,
oh fuck,
I will be very high on their chances.
Yeah,
but that's. You want to talk about the firing squad?
Yeah, I don't think we should be wiping or cleaning the shelf to put a Stanley Cup up this year, should we?
Look, man, I love it. I love it, but I don't want to get into more of it because I feel like that's going to get into like prediction time. I think that would be better for next week.
Yeah, that's next week's our annual playoff prediction show. That's always a good one.
Annual prediction show, annual talk Greg out of picking the Blues show.
Won't happen. I'll do it. I can tell you how the whole thing's going to go right now. It'll start out where I'll be like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Then I'll talk myself into it.
And then you're gonna remember that Zach said that they've been playing well down the stretch.
Right.
You know, and getting hot now.
And I'll talk myself back into it. And then right at the end, I'll go, nope, I'm not going to do it. And then I'll say, I can't quit him. I'm doing it anyway. And that's where we'll end up. So. And
then they'll lose in like 5 games in the second round.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some things are just, that's just the way things go every year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, so on that note, folks, we're going to wrap it up. Hockey preview next week. Remember, GTOV voting is still open for the rest of the tournament, I suppose. And you can get all the links to that on our Twitter feed at Basically Sports. You can also find them on our Facebook page and, of course, the sportslogos.net forums. Subscribe to the show via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. And with that, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Later.